You're listening to the Agentic Engineer Podcast, weekly AI agent intelligence for builders. I'm Andrew, and with me as always is my co-host Ava. This is issue 25. Let's get into it.
Big week. Like, genuinely one of the bigger weeks we've covered. Multiple things landed that I think are going to matter in 6 months.
Let's do the TLDR first. 5 companies, AWS, Cursor, Microsoft, OpenAI, and Vercel, co-published Agent Plugins 1.0. Google joined as a core maintainer on day 1.
Build an agent skill once. Run it in ChatGPT, Codex, Cursor, GitHub Copilot, Kiro, and VS Code. The build for one harness era is officially over. Or that's the pitch anyway.
Also this week, YC open sources QM, their internal multi-agent system, 11 stars and days. Amazon open sources Kiro Crew, which had 39,000 internal users at Amazon. And Meta ships Muse code with persistent background subagents that survive crashes.
3 new open source harnesses in 1 week. And that's before we even get to the paper or the tool of the week.
Right. Tool of the week is AWS Dogwood, temporal policies for agent tool calls, which is actually the one I'm most excited to dig into.
And the hot take is about Claude Code defaulting to auto mode starting August 14th. We're going to have opinions about that.
Okay, the big one. Agent Plugins 1.0. Let me explain what this actually is technically, because the headlines undersell the architecture.
Please do. Because I read build once run anywhere and immediately started thinking about every other time someone said that.
Fair. So an agent plugin directory has 3 things. A plugin.json manifest with name, version, entry points, and permissions. An optional MCP server config, and any skills the plugin exposes. A compliant harness walks the directory, parses the manifest, and picks it up. No central registry required.
So you can distribute these as NPM packages, Git repos, zip files, whatever. Any harness that supports the spec just finds it.
Right. And it's built on top of MCP and agent skills, both of which are already under the Linux Foundation Agentic AI Foundation. No single company owns the roadmap. The technical steering committee is public in maintainers.md.
AWS ships day 1 support with Kiro powers and the AWS Agent Toolkit, including a validation CLI.
So if you're maintaining agent skills or MCP servers for more than one platform right now, the migration path is documented. Read the spec this week.
Okay, but I want to push on the skeptics' take for a second. MCP launched with massive multi-vendor momentum. Big announcements. Joint posts. The ecosystem is still fragmented 2 years later. Why is this different?
The day 1 install base. That's the actual difference. MCP launched, and then harnesses had to adopt it over time. Agent Plugins 1.0 launches with ChatGPT, Codex, Cursor, Copilot, Kiro, and VS Code already supporting it.
That's where I land too. If there's already a reason to build for the spec on day 1 because your plugin will reach all those users immediately, the coordination problem is solved before it starts. That's genuinely different from MCP's launch dynamic.
The spec is worth reading even if you're skeptical. The migration path from existing skills is documented, and it's not a rewrite. Quick hits. Docker sandboxes shipped this week and hit number 1 on Hacker News. 203 points, 131 comments.
Disposable micro VMs for AI coding agents. Each agent gets isolated compute, install packages, run Docker, modify configs. Your host stays completely untouched.
And the install path is just brew install docker /tap/sbx, then sbx run Claude with the dangerously skip permissions flag. Works out of the box with Claude Code, Codex, Gemini CLI, Copilot CLI, Kiro, and Open Code.
This is the thing that E2B and Modal both try to solve and couldn't get traction on. Docker has the distribution and the brand. That adoption problem just doesn't exist for them.
Kiro Crew. Amazon open sources their internal multi-agent orchestration harness. Mit license. 39,000 Amazon builders adopted it internally in under 6 months. 500 contributors, 597 updates.
The design is interesting. Agents run across sessions, not just in one chat. They coordinate via ACP. And here's the part one want to flag. Corrections become durable lessons. Repeated patterns become reusable skills.
It self-learns from usage. Ships with OS-level sandboxing, denied by default commands, credential redaction, and assigned audit log. Reads existing .hero config. Zero migration.
39,000 Amazon users in 6 months is real production data. That's not a demo. That's a battle-tested system.
YC open sources QM. Their internal multi-agent harness. Each person in room gets scoped memory, files, keychain view, permissions, crons, and a sandbox. Harness agnostic, Pi, Open Code, Codex, Claude Code all drive the same core.
11,000 stars in days. And YC has run this in production across accounting, legal, events, and engineering. 3 security postures: strict, auto, and dangerous, with hard-coded destructive command denials in all 3.
Prime agent from Prime Intellect. This one has a genuinely different architecture. The bet is give the model exactly one tool, a persistent IPython kernel, and let it do everything else in Python.
Subagents are function calls. Await RLM subtask. The continual harness is rewritable at runtime via /refine. And the result, 95.5% on Arc, AGI, 3 best at 1 with Opus 5.
That's above the 95.4% human expert baseline. It beats Claude Code on 6 out of 9 long context evals.
Single tool as REPL is a fundamentally different take from everything else in this space. Most harnesses are about giving the model more tools. This one is about giving it fewer and letting Python handle the rest.
DynamoDB Vector Search went GA this week. Native vector search in DynamoDB, single-digit millisecond latency at 99+% recall. Store embeddings alongside existing attributes. Create a vector index. Run approximate nearest neighbor searches with attribute filters.
The practical use case for agentic builders: semantic retrieval over agent memory stored in DynamoDB. No separate vector DB to manage. Fully serverless. Available in all commercial AWS regions including US, East, 2.
Paper breakdown. Title is effectively, most visual tool calls don't change the answer. AR14 2600 8.06.270.
Okay, that is a very uncomfortable finding if you're building multimodal agents.
The researchers audited 6 multimodal models across 5 perception benchmarks. Benchmark accuracy gains from visual tool use are real, but they're concentrated in a minority of rollouts. Most visual tool calls have zero causal effect on the final answer.
Zero causal effect. The model makes a crop or zoom call, gets the visual evidence, and then gives the same answer it would have given without it.
They identify 2 failure modes. First is calling without looking. The evidence is there. The model just ignores it causally. Second is looking without planning. The evidence is informative, but the call schedule is incoherent. The agent keeps zooming after it already has what it needs.
They introduce a new metric for this, visual evidence gain, to measure per call contribution rather than aggregate accuracy.
This is the same pattern as the E3 paper from issue 22 to 91% of tokens wasted in coding agents. The insight is consistent across modalities. Agents overcall tools, and when they do call them, the calls often don't change behavior.
There's a practical diagnostic here, though. If building multimodal agents with crop and zoom tools, log the answer before and after each visual tool call. If they match more than 80% of the time, your agent has problem. That's testable today.
The calling without looking failure is diagnosable. You don't need to wait for a benchmark to tell you if your system is doing this.
Time saved on this one. 5-minute read versus a 41-minute paper. 8 times compression. Worth it.
Tool of the week. AWS Dogwood. Temporal policies for agent tool calls. Apache 2.0. Let me explain the problem it actually solves.
Cedar is already a solid policy language. What's missing?
Cedar is good at point-in-time decisions. Agents don't make point-in-time decisions. They make sequences of calls. Cedar can't write a rule that says, deny this action because of what happened 3 calls ago.
Oh, that's a real gap. An agent that's called Bedrock invoke model 10 times in a session is a different risk profile than one making its first call.
Exactly. Dogwood extends Cedar with temporal conditions. You write policies that look back over an agent's recent actions, not just the current request. The temporal window is configurable by count, time, or by action sequence.
So you can write, deny the next invoke model call if the agent has already made 10 in this session. Or, deny delete table if the agent called list tables more than 3 times before it. right after read prevention at the infrastructure layer.
It integrates directly with Agent Core policy. If you're already using Cedar and Agent Core, Dogwood is additive. No migration. Existing Cedar policies keep working exactly as they did.
This is the tool for the hard class of agentic safety failures. Not did this single action violate policy, but is this sequence of actions heading somewhere dangerous?
Loop detection, rate limiting, privilege escalation prevention, cost budget enforcement. All of these are sequence problems, not point-in-time problems.
If you've ever had an agent retry a failing tool call 50 times, Dogwood is what lets you stop that at the infrastructure layer instead of in the prompt.
Apache 2.0, production grade from AWS, addresses a problem no existing policy language handled cleanly. If you're running agents in production with Agent Core, this is the practical addition to make this week. Agent Index, Weekly Star Tracker, August 11th, 2026, Deltas versus Issue 24.
And 8N takes the top weekly spot at plus 1,044 and crosses 200K total stars for the first time.
Diffie at plus 900, OpenClaw at plus 890. Both strong. LangGraph at plus 691, accelerating.
That LangGraph acceleration makes sense. The YCQM and Kiro Crew announcements both drive search traffic toward multi-agent frameworks, and LangGraph is the name most people associate with that in the LangChain ecosystem.
LangChain steady at plus 665. Mastra at plus 245 extends its streak ahead of Haystack at plus 77.
Semantic Kernel at plus 31, quietest mover again. And Strands agents ticking up at plus 102, likely on the Agent Core runtime instances GA.
OpenClaw at 385,885 total. The ecosystem is still growing fast across the board. No signs of consolidation yet. Hot take. Claude Code Pro, Max, and team defaults to auto mode starting off 14th. An AI classifier replaces human permission prompts. Anthropic says users were approving 97% of prompts anyway, and auto mode users ship 25% more PRs.
And the internet exploded. They're removing human oversight. This is irresponsible. I think both sides are missing what's actually interesting here.
The 97% approval rate is the tell. A permission prompt that gets approved 97% of the time is not a safety gate. It's a latency tax. Humans pattern match to approve so quickly that the cognitive overhead of the prompt itself became the bottleneck.
Removing that isn't removing safety. It's removing theater. I actually agree with that framing.
Anthropic tested the classifier on 1,053 paid users plus third-party red teaming, and it matched or beat manual review on safety metrics. If the classifier is better at catching the 3% than humans who are rubber stamping, auto mode is safer on net.
Okay, but here's where I push back on the rosy read. The honest concern isn't auto mode for permission prompts specifically. It's what this logic normalizes.
Say more.
Today it's permission prompts. That same reasoning, approval rate is high enough, classifier is better than the humans, applies to file writes, shell execution, API calls. Every one of those has an approval rate. Every one of them can be auto-approved once the rate crosses whatever threshold Anthropic decides is acceptable.
That's a fair concern. And I don't think Anthropic is being dishonest about the safety data. But the framing, the model is better at this than the humans, is only a good justification if we're honest about the trajectory.
Rubber stamp approvals were genuinely bad oversight. I'm not arguing for keeping them. I'm saying, watch what this normalizes, not just what it does today.
Worth watching, not panicking over. That's where I land. The classifier data is real. The 97% stat is real. And the concern about the pattern is also real.
Both things are true. This is one to keep an eye on.
That's a wrap for issue 25 of the Agentic Engineer podcast. Subscribe to the newsletter at theagenticengineer.waltsoft.net and follow us on YouTube at the Agentic Engineer Pod. Share it with a friend who's building with agents. We'll be back next week. Until then, keep building.